a major development, Stephen, in the investigation into the ambassador's apparent decision to take his own life in that Hyatt Regency Hotel in Paris, because I'm now told by the prosecuting authorities here in France that French media was wrong when it reported at the beginning of the week that one of the ambassador's phones was discovered in the Bois de Boulogne, that vast wooded area in the centre of Paris, that the only movement that the ambassador made on Monday, and this is critical, was between his official residence and the Hyatt Regency Hotel, that he did not go anywhere else. He went directly from his residence, the ambassadorial residence, which is just under a kilometre away from the Hyatt Regency, to the hotel.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today's story is one that has left both South Africans and the international diplomatic community in disbelief. The mystery surrounding the sudden death of South Africa's ambassador to France, Nathi Mthethwa, has taken a dramatic twist, and this time, it's not speculation, it's confirmation from the French police themselves. Contrary to what French media had reported earlier, authorities have now stated clearly that Ambassador Mthethwa's phone was not found in a nearby park, but right inside his hotel room. That detail changes the entire picture. For days, the story in Paris had been that his phone had somehow been discovered in a public park, a few blocks away from where he was staying. Journalists and commentators had already built narratives around that version, suggesting theft, a possible altercation, or even espionage. But now, that theory collapses entirely. So what does this mean? It means the ambassador's phone never left his possession. It means that whatever happened to him that night, happened in the privacy of his own hotel room, and that, my friends, raises more questions than it answers. Let's rewind. Nathi Mthethwa, a seasoned ANC politician and former Minister of Arts and Culture, had been serving as South Africa's ambassador to France. A man with decades of experience in government, diplomacy, and political leadership. He was no stranger to controversy, but by all accounts, his posting to Paris was meant to be a quieter chapter, a dignified role for a loyal party veteran. But in the final weeks of his life, things took an unexpected and rather unsettling turn. Reports from people close to him suggest that he had been unusually reflective, speaking often about legacy, destiny, and, in a strange twist, a vision he said he had received from his late father. He reportedly told associates that the vision came to him in a dream, and that his father had told him his work on earth was almost done. Some dismissed it as sentimental reflection, but others say it weighed heavily on him. Then, just days later, came the shocking news: Mthethwa had been found unresponsive in his hotel room in Paris. Initial reports from French media quickly spread, claiming that his personal phone had been discovered in a nearby park, a detail that led many to believe there had been a struggle, a robbery, or even foul play. South Africans online went into overdrive, linking the case to political intrigue, past grudges, and hidden enemies. But the French police have now stepped forward with a correction. They say the phone was never outside the hotel. It was right there, in the room, next to his other belongings. That small clarification forces everyone to look at this case from a new angle. Because if nothing was stolen, if there was no break-in, then what exactly happened to Nathi Mthethwa? Now, you might be wondering why such a small correction matters. In a case like this, it's everything. It tells us that the earlier reports, which painted a picture of chaos and suspicion, may have been premature, maybe even deliberately misleading. It's not unusual in high-profile deaths for false leads to circulate before the facts are confirmed. But in Mthethwa's case, the inconsistencies have raised suspicions of something deeper, perhaps even a deliberate attempt to confuse the narrative. Mthethwa's long political career means that his name carries weight. This was a man who had served in security portfolios, who had access to classified information, who had sat in cabinet meetings under two different presidents. His career had taken him from the dusty corridors of the liberation struggle to the bright lights of international diplomacy. So naturally, any hint of mystery around his passing sets off alarm bells. What complicates matters further is how the French and South African governments have handled communication. South African officials were reportedly frustrated that details were leaking to the French press before Pretoria had been briefed. Some insiders have suggested that certain corrections were made only after diplomatic pressure was applied. If that's true, it suggests a tug-of-war over information, and in the world of politics, that often means there's more beneath the surface. One theory gaining quiet traction among analysts is that Mthethwa may have been under immense stress, balancing diplomatic duties with internal ANC politics. Remember, South Africa's government of national unity has been a source of tension within the ruling party, and ambassadors like Mthethwa often find themselves caught between loyalty to the president and loyalty to the party. He had served under Jacob Zuma, then under Cyril Ramaphosa, and he knew better than most how divided the ANC had become. There are also reports that he had recently clashed with some members of his embassy staff over administrative issues and budget irregularities. While there's no evidence linking these matters to his death, it shows that his final weeks in office were not entirely peaceful. Diplomacy might look elegant from the outside, champagne receptions and national anthems, but behind those velvet curtains, it's often a battlefield of personality and power. And here's where the story takes on a more human note. Those who knew Mthethwa personally describe him as deeply thoughtful, even spiritual, in his later years. He was said to have been reading more, reflecting on life after politics, and contemplating a possible return to academia or cultural work once his term ended. That's why the mysterious circumstances surrounding his death have hit so hard. It doesn't fit the profile of a man who was reckless or unwell. Of course, this is South Africa, a country where politics, mystery, and conspiracy blend like spices in a Durban curry. Everyone has an opinion, from Twitter detectives to political veterans. Some insist that this was a tragic natural passing, nothing more. Others whisper that certain people wanted him silenced before he could speak publicly about things he'd seen while in office. And with the sudden change in the police statement about his phone, those whispers have grown louder. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in the middle. For now, French authorities continue their investigation, while South Africa waits for the official report. But this much is clear, the story of Nathi Mthethwa is far from over. Each new revelation, like this one about his phone, only deepens the mystery. As the nation reflects on his life, many are reminded that in politics, nothing is ever straightforward. Every silence hides a conversation, every correction hides a motive. Whether Mthethwa's passing was simply tragic or tragically convenient remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, South Africans will be watching closely, demanding answers not just about what happened that night in Paris, but about why the truth seemed to take so long to emerge. If you found this story as intriguing as we did, remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into South Africa's political stories, and share your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe we're getting the full truth, or is there still more to come? Thank you for watching, and as always, stay informed, stay curious, and stay sharp. See you next time.